Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy AJ. Welcome back to Saturday Night Frights, where we all come together as a community, watch scary horror stories, and have a good time doing it. So grab your snacks. You guys already get the memo, man. Get your snacks. We will not be starting the video until you get your snacks, man. And while you're at it, turn off all the lights, man. Don't leave any light on. Once you do all that, we shall get started. So I'm not here to waste any more time. So without further ado, man, let's get it. True hunting stories.
I was doing some night hog hunting in the woods near my backyard. I was hiding in the tower I had built about a decade ago. In case anyone's wondering, I of course had a night vision scope attachment.
Oh,
I guess I'm what you would consider
serious.
A hardcore hunter.
I do serious about
I don't
it.
want to bore you with the unnecessary story prolonging details, so I'll make this short. And I want everyone to know that though I agree this story sounds far-fetched and crazy, it is nothing but the truth. And I in a way actually consider myself lucky that I'll always have such a horrifying story to share. So, while I was sitting in the tower waiting for movement, it finally came. I took aim and found the source. But it wasn't at all a hog, or any kind of animal I was expecting.
Really?
It was a person. A man wearing all black. Black sweatpants, black shoes, and a black hoodie
what's in
with
his hand?
the hood over his head. But that wasn't the freakiest part.
What's he
He
carrying?
was dragging a sack behind him.
Oh,
My heart started racing. I was pretty sure I was witnessing this guy trying to bury a body. I continued to watch him, but then he slowed down, and I swear to God, it looked as if he turned his head up to me.
oh,
I ducked down under the wooden walls
Bro,
of the
you
tower,
got a
shaking
sniper.
in my boots. Yes, I had a gun, but just the idea of using it against a person is horrifying. I lay low, praying to God that he hadn't seen me.
why would you take your eyes
It
off
wouldn't
him?
make sense if he could, though. It's practically pitch black out here, or at least that was my logic. Seconds felt like an eternity as I waited for the footsteps in the leaves to move elsewhere, but I didn't hear any footsteps. All I heard was the sound of a foot hitting one of the wooden planks on the ladder of the tower.
Ooh,
I felt the entire tower vibrate and shake as there were 2 more steps moving up the ladder.
2 more steps?
At
He's
this
not the
point, I
only
was
one.
asking myself deep down, am I going to be able to shoot someone?
You got to,
But
man.
for some reason, whoever was down there decided not to climb all the way up, as I heard them jump back down to the forest ground and began dragging the sack away. I think I stayed frozen like a statue for at least 10 minutes before even peeking over the ledge again. The coast seemed clear. I had to get home and warn the police immediately. I hopped over the ledge and descended down the ladder. I turned on my pocket flashlight, which in hindsight was a stupid move considering the situation,
Yeah,
and
it
ran
really
back in the
is.
direction of my house. I was only able to run for about 10 seconds or so when I heard the rapid, manic footsteps crunching the leaves from behind me.
Oh,
I took a look over my shoulder, and there he was, inches away from my face. I spun around and shot him in the shoulder.
good, good.
He
So, like,
stopped
bro,
and screamed in
why are you
agony,
following
and I
me?
took that moment to finish my dash to my house. Again, in hindsight, I should have held him hostage somehow, but that doesn't even matter now. I called the police, who showed up within 15 minutes with a whole search squad, and I led them all into the woods to the exact location where I shot him.
He left a trail.
There was a faint yet noticeable blood trail spilled onto the leaves which led past the body bag, which the cops seized, and eventually right to the maniac, who was hiding under a log next to a tree. He was arrested
I know
and
he's
tried
hurt.
for the murder of Jin-Quen Sakanaki, a Japanese corner store owner. I don't know the full story behind it, but I do know I won't forget this one for the rest of my life, and I'll also be telling it for the rest of my life.
This dude did exactly everything that I would do in this situation. I had a freaking sniper or gun, whatever.
Here's
Bro,
how the average man's life would.
they getting shot up ASAP. True Home Alone Stories 3.
I recently moved out, and I already
You
have
got
a
a
horror
pool in the
story to
backyard?
tell.
Okay.
The house I moved into isn't anything impressive, it's just a house that's appropriate for 1 or 2 people. But I'd say right away, I started hearing weird sounds coming from inside the walls.
The walls?
I first heard it in the kitchen, and then in the bathroom, but on night 3, I started hearing it in my bedroom. I was sure there was some kind of animal living in my walls. I just had to figure out how to get rid of it. The
How'd it
next
get in the
morning, I
walls?
didn't even have enough milk to fill the bowl of cereal. I couldn't believe I hadn't realized I needed more milk. In fact, I seemed to be eating up all of my food pretty fast.
Tamako?
I woke up in the middle of that night to the sound of breathing. Not my breathing. It sounded just like the breathing of a person. I flipped the lamp on and it stopped. I chalked it up as my mind playing tricks on me after waking up. The next day was really hot, so I turned on the AC for the first time. I checked every single vent, and some of them weren't blowing any air. One of them being the vent right next to my bed. I peered through the vent with a flashlight. There wasn't even a duct behind the vent. It was just the inside of the wall.
What?
It seemed that whatever air duct was in there had been removed. Unfortunately, I didn't look into the air conditioning system while buying the house, so I didn't know about this.
You gotta get that checked out.
That night, I had to sleep in the heat with no AC, so I was up pretty late, constantly rolling around and flipping the pillow over. Then, I eventually started to hear the breathing again, but this time, I was fully awake. I knew it was real this time. It was coming to my left.
That
I
same
looked to my
vent.
left at the air vents. The sound was surely coming from in there. I grabbed the flashlight again and shined it in through the vent. I dropped it and screamed. There was someone's face peering through the cracks of the vents.
Oh.
The first thing I saw were their
Poking in the eyes.
open wide and glowing.
Poking in the eyes.
I screamed all the way down and out the house. I soon found out there was a crazy, dangerous homeless man living in my walls.
Dangerous?
And he had been eating my food ever since I moved in.
How'd he get in the walls? He can't fit in the freaking vents. Bro, I would have poked him in the eye. Bro, how do you get in the wall? True pizza delivery horror stories. I can only imagine what goes on.
I was out doing a delivery one late night. It was probably the longest drive I have ever taken for a pizza delivery. From the pizza place I worked at, it was a 20-minute drive, which isn't too crazy out
Mario's
where I
Pizza?
live. Plus, they ordered 4
Where's
large
Luigi at?
pies, so I figured it was a party and I would get a much bigger tip. Navigating the dirt roads at night was always annoying, though. I pulled up to the given address. It was some old, sketchy-looking building, literally in the middle of a forest clearing.
I would have dropped it off at the door and
There were
left.
no cars parked anywhere, or any lights on. I put my car in park and called my boss. I asked him to reread the address at least 3 times to make sure I typed it in right, but that checked out. I could tell he was in a really bitchy mood, and he told me to at least knock on the door and check it out. He would normally get mad if we took back 1 pie, but I was afraid of what he would do if I brought back 4.
Man, I
was
don't care.
insanely
Nobody home.
unnerved, but got out anyway and forced myself to the front door of the building.
I would have lied to my boss.
There was
I'm
no
like, hey,
doorbell,
nobody's home.
So I just knocked really hard. I heard nothing and didn't really expect to hear anything. I was extremely disappointed.
Look
Not
at the
because
door.
nobody answered the door, but because I was realizing that it was all a waste of time and gas. I knocked 1 more time out of desperation, and then began to hear some kind of rustling noises from inside of the building.
Heavy
I knocked
footsteps.
again and yelled that I was the pizza guy. There was silence now. I felt a bit more uncomfortable now than before. But before I could turn around, I noticed something at the window. There was someone looking through the window.
Ooh.
I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. All I noticed were their eyes.
Oh
Their
no.
eyes were open wider than I knew possible, staring intently at me. I was disturbed enough by this and dropped the pizzas and ran back to my car.
Good.
The
You don't have to
shitty thing
talk to
wouldn't
them,
start
I don't
until
think.
turning the key for the 3rd time. I drove off the grass and back onto the dirt road, but I felt the car rocking about, shaking and bumping. Something wasn't right. I didn't make it far from the building before I started hearing a sharp scraping sound coming from outside.
Don't tell me
There
your
was so much
tires?
resistance that I couldn't even drive. The car
Bro.
came to a stop. I got out of the car to check what the hell was wrong. A chill ran up my spine as I began to feel like my heart was constantly skipping beats.
What happened?
My tires had been slashed.
He slashed the tires?
Fallen off the rim.
How?
Not just the front though.
Bro.
All 4 tires were slashed.
All 4 bro, how do you do that?
Somebody did this when I was knocking on the door to that building.
Nah, he got a buddy or something like that.
Instead of running, I got back in the car and locked the doors. I was so close to that building, I could practically see it from where I was, if it weren't for the trees blocking the view. I dialed 911 and explained everything to the operator.
It took the tires off the rims and everything.
Would be over as soon as possible, and that I need to stay hidden. I asked her if it was advisable to stay in the car or run, and she told me it would be best to stay in the car with the door locked.
Did you lock the door?
I stay on the line with her until the cops arrived. My whole body was shaking. In all directions, there was nothing but dark, seemingly endless forest. I knew it would take forever for the cops to get there. I was not comfortable with sitting in that car so close to whoever did this. The next part, though, is what utterly destroyed me. It still shakes me to this day, and I hope nobody ever has to experience this kind of fear. As I was scanning all the windows, making sure nobody was outside, I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was the same person. The same person I saw at that window.
Alien or something like that?
Eyes open wider than ever. I could see now that it was a woman, and I could ever so slightly see a smile.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie though. I ain't gonna lie. She do look kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. She look kind of bad. I ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm just playing.
Right across her face. I opened my door and full on sprinted into the woods, not caring how much noise I made. I ran until I was out of breath, which didn't take long, and I hid behind a giant log on the ground. I tried to cover my loud breathing with my hands.
That's not a good idea.
As I waited and waited for what felt like hours, until I finally heard sirens in the distance. I gathered up all the stamina I had left to run all the way back in the direction of the dirt road. Eventually, the glowing red and blue lights came into view, and I had never felt better in my life. They were parked in front of my car, investigating with flashlights. I came out yelling at them like a lunatic to help me. I fell to the floor and started to gag, almost throwing up from running so much. They picked me up and began to question me, to which I explained everything to the best of my ability. One of the 2 cars drove over to the building, and the 2 officers began to search the building. They came back with nothing except for a couple of spiky objects. These objects were exactly the same as the ones used to slash my tires.
How did they do that?
The cops guessed that it was some kind of sick, demented couple, being that I saw the woman, but unfortunately they were never found. And that still kills me to this day.
They took all 4 tires off the rim.
After that, and started working at a local grocery store.
Okay, as you should.
I know that I'll never forget seeing that woman at the back of my car.
I bet you won't. Army Pops, Princess Flakes. I couldn't read the orange one, but bro, I'm never doing pizza delivery ever, man. Horror creepy 2-sentence horror stories animated.
Clock flashing 12:07 before she pushed her long, rotting nails through my chest, her other hand muffling my screams. I sat bolt upright, relieved it was only a dream, but as I saw my alarm clock read 12:06, I heard my closet door creak open.
Oh.
Growing up with cats and dogs, I got used to the sound of scratching at my door while I slept. Now that I live alone, it's much more unsettling.
This is very unsettling.
I begin tucking him into bed and he tells me, "Daddy, check for monsters under my bed." I look underneath for his amusement and see him, another him, under the bed, staring back at me, quivering and whispering, "Daddy, there's somebody on my bed."
What? Bro.
I always thought my cat had a staring problem. She always seemed fixated on my face, until one day when I realized that she was always looking just behind me.
Behind you? Santa Claus? What? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas is around the corner. Bro, I like these two sentence horror stories, man. Like, bro, it creeped me out. Scariest hallucinations people have
You can see
had.
some weird things when you're tired, but the thing about this story, I wasn't tired. Me and the family were on vacation to some resort in a very rural area of Pennsylvania to make the setting creepier. There weren't many young people there for me and my brothers to hang out with. It seemed like more of an adult resort. But then one day when I was walking outside of the main lodge of the resort, I, for some reason, looked up to a window on the second floor and saw a teenage girl looking down at me. From that distance, she looked kinda cute, so I gave her a wave, but she didn't show any sign of reaction, so I just moved on. However, later that same day, I was so bored that I was sitting on the swing set at the little playground of the resort, and that's when I saw the same girl again. She was a little ways away from me, down
barefoot?
past the playground, close to the tree line, and she was just standing there staring at me. Being a teenage guy, my hormones controlled my body, and so I got off the swing and began walking over to her. As I started getting closer to her, I realized she wasn't as cute as I thought she was. There was something about her face that just gave off a creepy vibe. I can't put my finger on it, but if I had to say, I think it would have to do with her eyes and her mouth. I'd say once I got about halfway over to her, she turned around completely and ran into the woods. And I mean she full on ran into the woods.
Why is she barefoot?
I stopped in my tracks, completely turned off. This girl seemed like a freaky stalker.
Yo, don't mess with her, man.
I didn't see her the rest of our stay at the resort. During the car ride home, miles and miles away from the resort, I was thinking about her. How maybe if I followed her into the woods, I could have gotten laid, even though there was something off about her face.
Come on, man. Nah.
But then what I saw next made me feel like my heart dropped into my stomach. Looking down ahead, I saw the same girl standing by the tree line on the side of the highway.
Oh yeah, you're hallucinating,
man. As we
man.
sped past her, I saw her head turn so that she was always looking right at me, even through the tinted minivan windows. I asked my parents if they saw her, and they just responded, "Saw who?" Soon afterwards, I accepted that it was all in my head, and that the girl was never even there.
Yep, it's all in your head, my guy. We got another pizza delivery story. A lot of pizza delivery horror stories.
I'll never forget this night. The pizza place I worked at was about to close, and I was getting ready to go home when the phone rang. I was working the counter alone that night, so I was taking calls. I picked up the phone. There was complete silence, so I hung up. About a minute later, the phone rings again, so I pick up again. Still silence. I was about to hang up again when I heard the very weak and cold voice of an old woman on the other end.
Ew.
She said she wanted a regular pie delivered. I remained polite on the phone, but on the inside I was screaming. I just wanted to get home and end my shift.
I hate people like that,
I called
man.
out to my boss that
Bro,
somebody's request.
Some of y'all gotta understand, man. Bro, when you know places about to close, don't order no food. Like, bro, I can't stand people like that, man. Like, bro, the store closes in 10 minutes. Why are you showing up the last 5 minutes trying to order something? Bro, if you don't go somewhere else, go home and cook some food when you get home. Or go somewhere else. Don't come 5 minutes before we close. Now I gotta freaking cook you whatever you want and then re-clean everything. Nah, man, I'm trying to go home.
Requesting a delivery. He told me I had to go. I was upset at first, but I realized it's another tip, and the old ones usually tip the most, so I decided it was okay. I took down the address and told her I would be there soon, but she had already hung up. I thought that was rude, but I ignored it and yelled to the chef that I needed one regular. My boss told me to just go home after the delivery as the place would be closed, so a little before 10 o'clock, I got in my car and put the address into my GPS. The house was 7 miles away. The GPS took me to the quiet side of town. I arrived to the house. It was a small, one-floor house on a very quiet and empty block. I took the pizza and walked up to the door and
Why's her
rang the
roof
doorbell.
glowing?
There were no lights on in the house. I hoped that she hadn't given me the wrong address. I rang the doorbell again. There was still no answer. I was about to give up when I turned my head and saw somebody standing at the window. I got a little freaked out and backed up at first, but I eventually got closer to the window to see the person. It was an old woman, probably in her late 70s. She was just staring at me with a blank expression. I yelled to her through the glass that I had her pizza. She didn't react to what I said, so I screamed it louder. A big smile ran across her face.
Look at her teeth.
Not a pleasant, genuine smile. It was a smile that sent chills down my spine. I still remember that exact face she made through the window. I decided that I was freaked out enough and got back to my car and set the pizza in the passenger seat. I had to text my boss about this. I shot him a quick text and started my car, ready to get the hell away. I looked to my right to get one more look, to see the woman standing right outside my passenger side window, giving me the same stare she had given me before. I put my car in drive and floored it down the street, not looking back. My boss never made me do a late night delivery again.
Good. I mean, I don't think she paid for it, so it's all good. But if you're a pizza delivery guy, is this what you go through? Like, let me know in the comments below. Vacation stories animated again. Well, another one.
Me and my wife were on our honeymoon in Hawaii. We were on the island of Oahu, sitting on the beach. My wife got up to go to the bathroom, and when she got back, she told me that there was a creepy man watching her walk into the bathroom.
Oh, yeah?
When she tried to walk out, he blocked her path.
Where's he at?
She only got away because there were two other people walking into the bathroom, so he got out of the way. I asked her what the man looked like, and she looked over, but unfortunately, she said he was gone. Our hotel was walking distance from the beach, so we got back quickly, but we made sure to report the man to a police officer we saw walking on the beach, and then we washed up before going out to eat. We ate at a fancy seafood place and did some walking around afterwards. Close to midnight, we finally went back to the room and began to wind down. Then we got a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole of the door and saw a man in a maid uniform standing outside. I opened the door.
Michael, if you go somewhere else,
tried to let himself in.
What?
I pushed him back.
Bro, let me tell you guys something, man. If a random dude knocks on my door,
I opened the door and he immediately
and they do this, man, I'm slamming the door in his arm, man. Bro, your arm is gone. Like, you're not having that arm again, bro. Like, what? Why would you do that? Come on, bro.
To let himself in.
Nah. Arm when it got slammed.
Asking him what he wanted. He told me he left something in the room while cleaning earlier.
No, you didn't.
To get it out.
No, you didn't.
The only thing, we left the do not disturb sign on the door all day. Then I noticed he was making eye contact with my wife.
Oh no.
My wife then screamed, "That's the man."
Nah,
I
man.
didn't understand at first, but it was too late for that.
Man, I would have shouldered past the freaking door while he was in it, bro.
The man had already lunged at me, holding my throat with one hand while reaching behind himself with another.
Bro.
He pulled out a knife and started swinging at me. And if it weren't for my wife coming over and smashing his face with the lamp, he would have been as good as dead. The commotion drew out all the inhabitants of the neighboring rooms.
Bro, that's Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yo! But she got different color hair. But bro, that is Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
One of the women started freaking out and screaming, making the situation worse.
He deserved that though.
The police, and so did the hotel. It turned into a huge, horrible scene, but we were just happy to be alive. We were questioned when the police arrived, and some of the other people around us claimed to have witnessed it all. We still don't know what kind of intentions this guy had.
He tried to kill you.
If I had to guess, I would say he wanted to get to my wife. He must have been one very dumb person to think he would get away with something like this in such a public building.
Baby, lucky I wasn't there, man. You would have been gone. Bro, your whole arm would have got chopped off by the door. What was that? Alright, last one. Babysitting stories animated.
It was during a blizzard in Valley Stream. I was getting paid $250 to watch some couple's kid while they went away for the weekend.
Ooh, that's some good
His
money.
name was Matthew. This took place on the first night, which was a Friday night. Matthew was already supposedly asleep, while I was in the living room watching a movie. I got a knock at the door, and looked at the clock. It was close to midnight. There was no way I was opening it. Not even 10 seconds later.
Open the door!
Oh! Woo-hoo! Whoa! Bro. Talking about open the door. Bro, you about to break down the door. Bro, I gotta listen to that again, bro. Imagine you babysitting, right? Matter of fact, forget babysitting. Imagine if you're home alone, just chilling, and it's almost midnight. Midnight to 3 a.m. You just chilling, right? And then you hear this.
Not even 10 seconds later.
Open the door!
Look!
The sound of two or
Bro.
four men angrily banging on the
Bro!
door, telling me to open
What would
up.
you do?
I felt like my heart was about to stop. I took a peek through the blinds, and there was somebody standing right on the other side of the window.
Oh!
I fell back in fear,
You got two
and
different
after
color eyes.
managing to get back on my feet, I ran to the kitchen phone first thing to call the police. They said because of the weather, it could take a while for an officer to get here.
Man, look at her, man.
I was told to take the child and hide somewhere until an officer arrived.
She don't care.
They wanted to keep me on the line, but I wasn't thinking clearly in the heat of the moment and hung up. However, it wasn't until I ran through the living room that I realized the banging had stopped.
It did?
I took a second peek through the living room window. Nobody was there now. I heard
You
the
gotta
sound of
run.
glass shattering from a few rooms over. My knees started to feel weak as
Yo,
I realized
run.
they had just broken the window and were about to climb into the house. I had to run and get Matthew. I couldn't just leave without him. Of course, when I got upstairs, there was no time left to run back downstairs, as I already heard footsteps and laughter coming from downstairs.
Hear all those footsteps?
I covered Matthew's mouth with my hand as I ran with him into his toy closet. A few minutes dragged on to what felt like half an hour as we sat there in the dark closet. Matthew began to squeal as footsteps on the carpet reached the outside of his bedroom door. There was more than one person. They came inside. There weren't many places to hide in this room. I was actually reflecting on my whole life, so sure I was gonna die. We heard the sound of a police siren outside, even from in the closet, and then I heard one of the men in the room mutter, "Aw, shit." I opened the door back up as I heard at
The
least
jig
3
is up.
pairs of footsteps hurriedly rushing down the stairs.
The jig is up.
They didn't get far, as the police later found their footprints in the backyard, leading to our shed. There
They
were
hid in the
5 men in
shed?
total,
Ew.
and they were all arrested.
Hey, look at that one. You can tell he's a criminal, man. But alright, y'all. I'm about to end it off right there, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, man. Please smack the like button. Subscribe today to join the AA. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.